You may recall that Reverend Marsh had invited me on several occasions to speak to his class at Manatee Community College. After I had told my story and shared my understanding of what the scriptures have to say about human sexuality, almost always I would be asked for my opinion on other controversial issues, especially abortion. I would begin by saying all life needs to be respected. If even a sparrow cannot fall without God's notice, we would be wise to treat life with dignity and equal consideration. What troubles me about the discussion about abortion is that we seem to place greater emphasis on the fetus than the child that is born. If we truly love our children, then should we not also be equally committed to ensuring that they receive a quality education, access to timely health care, and opportunity for meaningful employment? Are we committed to the whole of their lives, from conception to death with dignity? This is the challenge of the law of love, for it moves us from mere feeling to creators of a world where life is nurtured and sustained from cradle to grave. What also concerns me about the discussion around abortion is the dichotomies that we have subsequently created for ourselves. For example, you may recall hearing a few years ago that some Catholic bishops had publicly stated that they would deny communion to those politicians who supported a woman's right to choose. However, the Catholic ethic on the sanctity of life, which applies to abortion, is the same ethic that is also in opposition to the death penalty. To the best of my knowledge, no bishop or any other religious figure has indicated that they would deny communion to a politician who supports capital punishment. This too is the challenge of the law of love. How are we to love those who strike at the ones we cherish? I do not know how I would respond if Tom or my mom was struck by a drunk driver, or perhaps killed in a robbery. Could I abide within the law of love? Many of you have probably heard of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a local pastor and subsequent theologian who lived within Nazi Germany during World War II. A pacifist, Bonhoeffer sought to create an alternative to the growing nationalism that was transforming his country. Nevertheless, despite his commitment to nonviolence, along his journey, Bonhoeffer came to the conclusion that it was better for one man to die than millions to suffer and perish. Because of his willingness to sacrifice for others, Bonhoeffer was executed for treason just months before Berlin was liberated by the Allied forces. It's important to note that Bonhoeffer's sacrifice was not simply for fellow Christian believers or true Christians, but rather his sacrifice was also for those who did not share his beliefs, for those who were not like him, Jews and gypsies and Seventh-day Adventists, communists and trade unionists, homosexuals. Is this also the law of love? A final act of love when all else fails? Or was it simply the recognition that though we strive for love, we are yet mortal and imperfect? We can only do the best we can. In some ways, the Apostle Paul had it easy. You may have perceived a sense of urgency in Paul's letter to the Romans this morning. He writes, "You know what time it is, how it is now the moment for you to wake from sleep." Paul expected Jesus to come back imminently, within his lifetime. Clearly, it is easier to love your enemies, to persevere in adversity, when you are expecting quick relief. Paul never expected that the faith community would have to live out this law of love for generations to come. Paul had not considered what it would mean to love for the long haul, through passing generations, through wars and conquests, through medical marvels, as well as incomprehensible human depravity. Thus, it falls upon us as the community of faith to lay hold of the law of love and to discern what it means for this generation. It won't happen through sound bites or a sermon or through a Sunday school. Discernment will only occur through our engagement with one another. What do these issues mean to us? How do these issues impact our community? How do these issues, or rather not issues, but men and women who are struggling to make sense of the world, how do these children of God shape our faith in a God of love, as well as a God of mercy? A Sunday dinner with a visitor may be a start, but it's just the first step of a much longer journey. Shortly we'll gather at the table to draw close to the presence of God. It is love that invites us, and it is love that unites us. What's love got to do with it, you might ask? Or Bill, you can sing. What's love got to do with it? Everything. Absolutely everything.